Puppini sisters, coming to you from my lovely little kitchen in Dorset to bring you another instalment of Kate's Kitchen.
Snap, snap, tap, tap, roll, snap, snap.
So, continuing along the theme of Kate's Kitchen, which is to try to give you some practical, useful, general kitchen skills, perhaps in areas like meringues, like I've done before, Yorkshire puddings, where you don't always have a 100% success rate. So what better to add to your cooking arsenal, favourite word, than some Yorkshire puddings. Now, these Yorkshire puddings are a gluten-free recipe. They use corn flour rather than gluten-free flour. Corn flour is very light, and if you want to get nice light puddings, that light flour is absolutely excellent for that. So not only are they just these monsters, they keep rising. You wouldn't think that from gluten-free, would you? Nah, but it is true. So I'm going to show you how to make those today. Now, this is enough of a mixture to make 6 sort of fairly big individual Yorkshire puddings. Now, if I was going to do a toad in the hole, which is a very British traditional dish where you put sausages and cook sausages in amongst the batter and serve it with a lovely rich gravy, then I would use double quantity of what I'm about to do. But for today, I'm just going to be doing those individual ones, and they make about 6, maybe 7. We'll see how we get on. But it's enough for Sunday lunch and some leftovers. Nothing better than cold Yorkshire puddings and warm gravy. Woohoo! Now, for my money, there are 4 really key things to do when you're making Yorkshire puddings. The first is you need to make the batter in advance, at least half an hour in advance, and you're going to leave it to rest for that half an hour. We could do it hours in advance, whatever. So the resting is important. The second most important thing is to whisk it again just before you put it in to the fat that you're using. And that brings me to the third point. The fat needs to be really hot in order for you to get these puddings to rise, and they need to go into a hot oven. So there's 3 key rules. The fourth is that you need to use some salt, and if there isn't enough salt in your batter, I'm not saying you need to use tons, but you need to use a good generous pinch, then they tend to be weepy and they don't rise, and it's all a bit of a disaster as well. So those are the 4 key points. Now, the joy of these puds is there's literally 4 ingredients. You're going to measure out 100 grams of corn flour. You don't need to sieve it. Days gone by where there's lumpy flour and weevils and weird things in the flour is over, people. So just 100 grams of corn flour stuck in the bowl. I'm going to use 3 lovely fresh free-range eggs. I'm going to use 150 ml of our wonderful local dairy whole milk. I suggest using whole milk, but that's because I'm indulgent. Short semi-skimmed will be fine, but this feels like the right thing to do. And then a good pinch of salt, so just those 4 ingredients. Stuck them in this bowl. I'm going to give that a good whisk. Make sure you get all the flour in. There we have it. We have a sort of nice, light, thin batter. And this is what we're going to leave to settle for at least half an hour. Longer if you've got it, but definitely half an hour. I'm just going to leave the whisk stuck in because just before we put it in the searingly hot oil, I'm going to give it another whisk again. That's my tip. Was it 2 or 3? Can't remember. One of my top tips is to re-whisk just before you put it in. I'm just about to put in the dripping, the beef dripping that I'm using, into the muffin tins, which is where the Yorkshires are going to bake, and I'm just going to put that in an extremely high oven. So if you're ready to go and ready to cook in about half an hour, when this batter is ready, stick that oven on to high, and we will be back shortly. Alright, so this is where you need to work quite quickly but quite carefully. The oven is really hot, the batter has been resting for over half an hour, the beef dripping has been in the oven and it will be smoking hot. And we're going to re-whisk this batter one last time. Make sure you get all the flour up. And I'm now going to very carefully take the muffin tray with the beef dripping out. It'll be quite steamy. You can see that there's steam coming up. It's eye-wateringly hot. I've got a hot rain here as well, just to make sure that the beef dripping remains nice and hot. You can see that it's smoking there. And I'm going to very carefully pour this batter. You hear that sizzle? That's real important. I'm just going to pop a little bit of batter in each of the muffin slots that I've got some beef dripping in. Oh, it's splashed everywhere. Doesn't matter. It'll just be more pudding. That's fine. And I also did a cheeky little 7th one. So I'm going to pour that in there. So the batter's gone in like this. Turn that ring off. Get the door open. And then very carefully pop this back in the oven. Like so. Shut the door. Keep it on at full temp. And I'm going to come back in 20 minutes. Now, while those puddings are getting really nice and big and fluffy, I thought I'd just have a little chat with you and tell you a little bit about what I'm wearing. This jumper here, this is fascinating. This jumper here with a little bow is actually from the Puppini sisters' ancient archives. This is one of the first costumes that we ever wore. We paired it with an agent provocateur corset, just a little waisty, waspy corset, and a really cool agent provocateur skirt as well, which had a nice little bows and things at the back. And then we had this fun little cute jumper. Now Marcella Puppini is the queen of tying bows. So she makes sure all the strands are nice and fat, gets them round, pulls them through, makes a nice dinky little bow here. Marcella, that's your legacy to me. Interesting fact, over. You should never ever open your door when you're making these Yorkshire puddings and cooking them. And this is where I wish I'd really cleaned my oven. But you can see, they're rising. So the puddings have had 20 minutes, and looking at my very dirty oven door, I think they're going to need another 5-10 minutes. I'm going to open the door in 5 minutes, see what happens. Hello, Bismarck. Okay, so we are ready for the great reveal. They've had 25 minutes in the oven. They're looking pretty special. Let the air out first, particularly if you're wearing mascara. The hot air glues together one's lashes. Ladies and gentlemen, turn the oven off and have a look at these beauties. They are enormous. They are lovely and crisp, but they're going to have a nice bit of a spring inside. They are literally the world's best Yorkshire puddings, and the fact that they're gluten-free, hello, wonderful. Pictures to follow of gorgeous eating notes.
Jealousy.